Welcome back from the Tarihesita celebrations. Quite a lot of activity went down. If you followed UBC TV, clearly you know that it was quite a rich and very entertaining celebrations that did happen over there in Kacheka, Mbara, Greater region. But of course, also I want to welcome back the parents from having succeeded in taking their children back to school. It was quite a very busy day yesterday on several parts of the road. If you are following through the traffic, the traffic situations on several of these roads, parents did their responsibility, at least those who are able to have those children return to school. Those that did not, well, we can only hope and pray that everything happens in line and aligns well with you to have those children get back to school and start off the academic year of 2023. Well, good morning, Robert. I don't know if you are taking any child back to school yesterday, but we are here the second day. How are you doing?
I'm very fine. I'm doing okay, thanking God for the gift of life, and of course being here this morning to speak to Ugandans. It's a great opportunity. Now, I didn't take any child as in taking them to boarding school because the ones I have are not yet ready for boarding school, I believe. But I have one starting school today. That is kindergarten. So today is going to be his first school, his first day in a new class, because this is a promotional term. Every term matters. So this is the first term of the academic year 2022. But I saw a number of parents, and one thing the other time I found is headmasters, head teachers and school directors be lenient. I met a parent who was pleading with the school authorities to allow the child back to school as they try to make ends meet, because some schools have the zero balance policy. So this parent comes and says, 3 of my children have gone through this school.
Yes.
And I've never defaulted, but this time things have not been okay. Allow them, give me at least end of end of Feb, I'll come and clear. I know these were behaving like demigods, you know?
Yes.
Demigods. Some directors, they're the final deciders. They choose not to appear on that very day, you know? And this parent made a statement. He said, 3 of my children have been here from junior to secondary, and they have completed. How much have I been able to give in this school? And I'm only saying, give me 1 month, I pay half. I'll be able to bring the balance. So I think headmasters, headmistresses, school directors, things are not that easy for many Ugandans.
Yes.
If a parent is not a new parent, but has been there, educated 3 from this school, I think he deserves the benefit of doubt, that this parent. And he said, I don't even have, even the 2 I have, I don't have any balance.
Well, clearly there is some degree of leniency that should be extended maybe to that category of parents, and maybe also some level of concern as well. But I mean, somebody will tell you that a school is a school, it's a business at the end of the day, because when you look at the mode of operation lately, schools are operating as businesses, which is not right, but it's what is happening. So do not be shocked when they can't even be lenient towards a parent like that.
You shout at the parent, back in there.
Well, it happens, and that's very, very sad. Felix, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Philo. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm great. Still speaking about, Robert did bring in a very, very touching topic. Actually, it took me very far back when I was in Lubiri. I had a very, very bad scenario with the then deputy head teacher. In fact, now she's a member of parliament. I don't know if she's still.
She is?
I think she was called Madam Rab Shija. She's a member of parliament, I think, for workers.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, she used to be a hard one.
That's...
Anyone who went through Lubidi would know this woman. From one time, she embarrassed my mother under the same scenario. Like Robert said, you know how parents try to go and tell them, you see, let this guy be here. I think she made a very bitter statement, because there are a couple of parents outside. You know how they wake up very early in the morning and they sit to wait for these. In fact, these people, and what's more, these were government schools. I don't even know why they were feeling sweet on themselves. These people come to office at about 10, you know, because they know these parents come early to plead with them. So this woman walks in because, you know, we are very many, by the way, over 200. You know, when they chase people back home, that's when parents come. So we're there like over 200. One and Amzad, the parent and the child, you're all in the corridor outside. Parents were seated in the grass. You know how they'll try to be humble, waiting. When this woman came, I think she said, I remember she said, about something to do with poverty, something. If you can't pay, something quite painful. I remember most of the parents left that place cursing that woman. All of them. Now, when Robert says that, it brings back such memories, and probably message to all schools out there and the leaders in different schools. You people people have been through school. People, even us here, were talking. Namwe, like, stop acting like this is the end of the world, that the buck stops with your schools or what. This is all our obligation to work together. As a country, by the way, as a country, it is useless for you to have your posh schools and no one is there studying. You're not going to teach your children and your husbands or wives and your relatives. You need to respect your clientele. There is no business that doesn't operate on debt. That one, don't be lied. The person has 3 pieces. There is someone either like that. That's the reality. In fact, if you go into the dynamics of the word economics, economics cannot be at play when everyone is able to get what they need in life. It ceases to be economics. Economics, because it comes from the word called economia, which means lacking. They actually, let me say this, the people who lack in society, they're the ones who keep the economy running. That's a matter of fact. Not the people who have. Because it concludes the chain of economics. Imagine if everyone here was able to do whatever they want. Imagine if you woke up one day and you don't need anyone, you just need... no one would be opening up a shop, because someone opens up a shop because probably they need to start work for something. Someone goes to the garden because, like, that's the purpose of economics. So don't be so arrogant. And I know this as a fact, and mostly even not even the directors. These employers, you get the teachers, director of DOS,
the director of studies,
then Basa, get money. Also, they are chasing people's children. So let's
work under instruction.
We don't know instruction. Some of them are just wiseacking. That's not your problem. Your problem is to let them in and let them hustle with other people. Kids, life changes, man. Everything plays out different. It's just a matter of time. Well, the people you're pressing hard today, tomorrow you'll face them. I have met my teachers, and I love my teachers. From Shimoni here. Trust me.
Shimoni is not here.
Oh,
Shimoni, which was here. Yes, it's not.
Well, Mollen, good morning.
Well, good morning, Uganda. Of course, sometimes you look at the discussions around schools and you wonder, where have we reached? Because I feel like this is the same conversation we keep having each year. And you know, there is something about directors and HMs, and they feel like they're goods in a school, so they're always going to act that way. What I've seen that is quite helpful is, even when you're friendly, even when you're friendly to them, when it comes to the money, they never compromise. And that brings in a good issue that Felix talked about, debt. Why do schools think they cannot deal with debt? They cannot accept a parent to at least bring a child and then you pay slowly. Because there are schools that do that, and in the long run they actually don't have any issues. But you see them chasing a student because a parent has failed to complete a full amount. And you wonder, because yourself, you also still have kids that have not even gone to school, but you're comfortably in school chasing people's
I like
people's
what Mollen has used, the word chased. Man, they used to chase, like, chase you like cows, man. I remember in Lubidi, they first, and they wait for you all to first come to school, like at around 10. You see a guy coming with a cane.
And you know, they used not
is
to give
coming,
even notice. They wouldn't give notice. You wake up early morning and they're like, today we are chasing people.
There's something that happened.
And they don't even know whether you even have transport to take you back home. But they don't care at that point. Just
and you know,
get away.
They just want to get you off the school premises.
That's it. And for us, what we used to do, honestly, once they chase you from school, you just go to, there's a place we used to go to Mengo, Kukadiba, and we swim the whole day. The whole day play soccer, because, I mean, when you go back home,
there is no solution. There is nothing that's going to be done about it.
No, they would want to avoid their chores at home, so they would rather stay somewhere so that they don't have to do anything.
Yeah, those things. And that's what most students do. You chase them from, they never go back home. Like you've seen some of the accidents on the roads. Like there's a time you see a swarm of kids around Kampala streets, just when they have chased school fees. But also something we need to talk to the parents about. Be honest.
I love that, yes.
I have, as a person now who's in academics, I know that some parents are not honest. Honestly, a parent will tell you, and you know what parents do? There are parents who are skilled in changing kids every year. After they default in Kirabo SS, they go to Mollen High. Then they, like for the 4 years, the kid will be, and they will only pay school fees where they'll sit S4 from.
Yes. But have you also noticed a trend where parents now are able to actually, they are honest about it, but they're able to negotiate with schools. And sometimes you just have to come and be in good books and you talk to them.
The other day,
but there are also those that don't have money, but they have the audacity to just, you know, make a phone call, let my child study, I'll come, I'll pay, but they can't. However, also if you come to school and you talk to these guys, because at some point there is the humanity right there. You talk to them and you're like, let my child study. First of all, I can afford this amount. What can I do to make sure that at least with this amount, my child can study? And I think those are the kind of engagements that even some parents avoid, yet they cannot afford the entire thing.
I think it's,
so I think it's also the relevance
just so
right
full
there.
Of themselves.
Yeah.
Like they're up there in their high horse. And that's where,
but even
and that's
then,
a part of parenting.
Even then,
must come down.
On several occasions, I do understand, because the other day here we were all advocating for parents who, I mean, all parents want the best for their children, but also I believe we take that a notch higher, taking children to schools where you know you possibly can't afford.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
education is education, and I understand you really want the best for your child, but also realistically speaking, you have to look at your finances and know what can I handle, what lies in my capacity to be able to sort, to avoid the continuous scuffles between you and the school administration. And by the way, in all of this, it's the child being affected at the end of the day. So why wouldn't you take your child to a school?
What's that?
Like if I have my beans, I give you the beans.
you take your beans to the market.
I think this is
This is a school, not a market. We know where we buy our beans.
With a private school?
Let me tell you.
With
in the villages it works.
Yeah, but I just want to remind those in the
Kampala?
villages where this can work. Because now we are passionate about farming. We're in a maize season. People are having maize. Kasoli munji. No, they don't have them. So if a parent can come,
you only think of
if I
private
can
school
swap with my ton of maize, because still you need food, quality maize, and we quantify that, how much is that amount of money for my child to study. We are looking for options, you know. If
I mean, that could work, but in some
areas,
let's not leave that out.
But honestly,
whether you're going to use the money to buy.
Robert, speaking about that, for me, there's something I've learned over time. Parenting is about losing yourself at every level. For me, my simple message to all parents out there, like, calm down. Go accept all these things, waiting. That's the painful thing about these schools, waiting. You wait when you're paying tuition, you wait when you go to see. I don't know for some reason why they make parents wait a lot. Like, you can wait for about 4 hours. And these people also have work, but go through that. Please, plead with the schools. Be humble. There's no reason why your child should sit at home when you have some money. Even if it's 30%, 20%, or even 0%, go commit yourself. You go and ask. That's the purpose of being a parent.
And some parents think that is so low. They feel like, now they are going to
then you can't be a parent. Then I'm sorry, you can't be a parent. Because imagine, you have toddlers. If a kid, say, did West on you, what do? You just clean and carry again. I mean, that's the purpose, that's the power of being a parent. You must go, be humble and plead. You don't have to have kids at home. But secondly, keep your promises. Because these kids are going to be in these schools for more than 1 to 3 years. It's going to be because of that power of your keeping your promise that the next time you go there, they will be willing to assist
and
you.
finally, go to schools you can afford.
That is
go to
very
schools
key, Philo.
that you can afford. That is the problem with Kampala parents. Anyway, we could talk about this.
It's a problem with Kampala wives, by the way. Women, don't.
Oh God, now
Anyway,
you're pushing it
we're
there.
going to look at some of the local
Safely,
stories,
yeah,
some of the
conclude.
international stories. Robert, yeah, what do you have for us this morning?
Yesterday, it was all rosy. That is in Mbarara City Kacheka Stadium, where we had the Terehe Sita, and a number of people were decorated with medals. His Excellency got the highest medal in the military ranking, and 66 persons were awarded medals at the 42nd Terehe Sita celebration that were held in Kacheka Stadium. Among the awardees is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who received the Katonga Medal, the highest decoration in the military. The Commander-in-Chief of UPDF, Yoweri Museveni, approved the award of medals to 66 persons during this year's Tarehe Sita. The medals are in recognition of their contribution in the fight and other Ugandans that are key in steering the development of the country. The awards were considered by the Presidential Awards Committee. Military decorations made included Katonga Medal, which was won and given to His Excellency, Kabalega Medal, there were 3, Dam Medal, 4, Luwero Triangle Medals, 28, National Independence Diamond Jubilee Medal, given to UPDF officers and those in the armed forces. We had 10 Uganda People's Police, then we had prison services. The military Katonga Medal is the highest medal decoration which was awarded to President Museveni.
And the chairperson, Uganda Human Rights Commission, Maria Mwagadia, has directed the Attorney General to compensate 4 persons for damages during conviction and detention. This was during the first tribunal court hearing for Central Region by the Uganda Human Rights Commission in Kampala. The Uganda Human Rights Commission has resumed tribunal's court sittings after 2 years. The chairperson of the commission, Maria Mwagadia, says 50 cases will be decided upon in the next 3 weeks.
And moving on to issues of homosexuality. The homosexuality talk has taken center stage on different media platforms, including the vice penetrating society. Ivan Kahawa met different leaders to ascertain how the vice can be prevented from eroding Uganda's culture. Recently, videos and allegations of educational institutions supporting and promoting homosexuality in Uganda have been on the internet. President Museveni is also bitter on the matter, and the re-emerging trend has caused legislators and leaders to condemn homosexuality. It is not clear how recruitment of homosexuals is conducted, but some people have come out openly to announce that they are lesbians or gay. The acts have been promoted using rainbow colors. The mayor for Entebbe Municipality Council, Brad Rinda, removed rainbow colors from the children's park in Entebbe. This was in a later dated 1st of February this very year. Minister of State for National Guidance has ruled over the matter with clear strategies to block penetration of homosexuality in Uganda. Section 2 of the Anti-Homosexuality Act and Section 145 of the Penal Code Act criminalize acts against the order of nature, and any person under the act commits an offense and is liable to imprisonment for life.
Now, head teachers in private and government schools in Entebbe have appealed to parents to provide scholastic materials before sending them back to school. Meanwhile, proprietors of inclusive schools also decry increasing costs of materials used by children with special needs, which may hinder their learning processes.
We're looking at some of the international stories. Rescuers in Turkey and war-ravaged Syria searched through the frigid night into Tuesday, hoping to pull more survivors from the rubble after a 7.8 magnitude earthquake killed more than 4,000 people and toppled thousands of buildings across a wide region. According to an update 24 hours after the earthquake occurred, the death toll in both Turkey and Syria climbed to 4,332. Authorities feared the death toll would keep climbing as rescuers searched through tangles of metal and concrete for survivors in a region beset by Syria's 12-year civil war and a refugee crisis. Residents, jolted out of sleep by the pre-dawn quake, rushed outside in the rain and snow to escape falling debris, while those who were trapped cried for help. Now, a suspected Chinese surveillance balloon shot down off the U.S. coast was about 200 feet tall and carrying an airliner-sized load, according to officials. At a briefing on Monday, a U.S. defense official said the size and makeup of the object informed the decision not to shoot it down while it was over land. The U.S. is still working to recover debris off the coast of South Carolina. Remnants of the object, which the U.S. believes is a spy balloon, but China says is a weather monitoring device, blown astray, have been collected from a roughly 1,500 meter by 1,500 meter sized area, but it is thought debris is spread over a far larger site.
And in Mali, the Malian interim government says the head of the United Nations Peacekeeping Mission Human Rights Division has been asked to leave the country within 48 hours after being declared persona non grata. In a statement on Sunday, it said the decision to expel Guillaume Ngefa Atundoko Ndali was connected to his alleged biased choice of civil society witnesses for the UN Security Council briefing on Monday. Briefing about Mali, and the most recent, which was held on January 27th. MINUSMA, a UN mission in Mali, is known and did not immediately respond to a request to comment, and Ali could not also be reached for a comment. The Malian authorities have come under pressure for alleged human rights violation and abuses reportedly perpetuated by Malian armed forces in partnership with Russian private military contractor Wagner Group in Mali. On January 31st, UN experts called for an independent investigation into possible war crimes and crimes against humanity by both these forces. In another story, natural disasters have been worsened by climate change that are displacing millions of people in the U.S. That's according to the new Census Bureau report, which found that more than 3 million adults were forced to evacuate their homes in the past year because of hurricanes, floods, and other events. Now, that has amounted to 1.4% of the U.S. adult population and included 11% of adults in Louisiana. The tally marks the rare federal efforts to assess the uprooting caused by climate emergency.
Some more stories coming in from the dailies, starting off with a new vision. Museveni warns UPDF officers over brutality. And of course, yesterday, Chief Justice Alfonso Nyonyintono was decorating President Yoweri Museveni with a Katonga Medal, which is the highest military award in the Uganda honors system. Again, this was during the 42nd Tarehe Sita celebrations at Kacheka Stadium in Mbarara City. And the picture over there showing the memento that was happening. And looking into the NSSF probe, servers access 3.5 billion Uganda shillings illegally. Respect your culture, says the Archbishop. Again, another story to look out for, and experts want government to scrap the PLE, that is the primary leaving examinations. This should be interesting.
Just a low turn up as schools reopen. That was yesterday, and women bosses are about 1 trillion in payout. But also IGG, we shall call via Rugaba on NSSF, and still children ask parents for more time with them. Wow, that's a good one.
Well, and as it turns out, it seems Robert was actually not wrong, because sections of the Kampala flyover are open, so the man is safe.
He did do the launching.
The man is safe. Anyway, now that you're safe, sir, please give us the good news.
You see, when you take these drinks, you can never go wrong. If you take Hallelujah Jinga tea, Hallelujah Tamarind, and Hallelujah fruit juice. Now, what these do is they boost your immune system. They improve also your mental capacity. So you can easily, you do the unthinkable. Know what will happen? I launched that section that is from the Arena Mall up to Mukwano, and indeed, now many people are using that, but of course there's the big man to launch. But I did the partial launch.
That disclaimer was very key.
Yes, I must, otherwise I still need to look for milk for Gavi. There's the official launch will happen, and yes, there's someone expected, because this is a very big project, and it's very you enjoy the ride.
Well, I did see a couple of complaints coming in from Ugandans on social media, because there is a tunnel, actually, I think, on that Kampala flyover, and they were asking UNRA or the responsible stakeholders to make sure that there is perfect lighting, otherwise it's going to be a hub for thieves. And I'm thinking, okay. But they did. They gave assurance. They gave assurance that they will put
like from
proper lighting.
Clock Tower, there's that thing they have constructed for pedestrians to use, even here in Mukwano. But there are some barriers they are putting. I think they're of this height. And I'm like, I think they should be a bit higher. Because someone can find you there. You either pay or you go down.
You go down.
I think they should. At least
anyway, let's wait and see the whole finished project. Probably all these considerations will be put into action. It's Good Morning Uganda. We're going for our song of the day. When we get back, we'll be having more discussions here on the newsreel. Tell you what, MPs want officials who illegally use money to actually pay back on their personal cash.
But they have used the money.
I am also asking, shouldn't MPs be part of the people?
They need to pay back.
They need to pay back.
We'll be back with that discussion right after this break.
Live from UBC Studio.
I think headmasters, headmistresses, school directors, things are not that easy for many Ugandans.
Yes.
If a parent is not a new parent but has been there, educated through from this school, I think he deserves a benefit of doubt that this parent. And he said, I don't even have, even the two I have, I don't have any balance.
Well, clearly there is some degree of leniency that should be extended maybe to that category of parents, and maybe also some level of concern as well. But I mean, somebody will tell you that a school is a school, it's a business at the end of the day, because when you look at the mode of operation lately, schools are operating as businesses, which is not right, but it's what is happening. So do not be shocked when they can't even be lenient towards a parent like
You
that.
shout at the parent, back in there.
Well,
Yeah,
it
doesn't
happens,
add up.
and that's very, very sad. Felix, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Philo. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm great. Still speaking about Robert did bring in a very, very touching topic. Actually, it took me very far back when I was in Lubiri. I had a very, very bad scenario with the then deputy head teacher. In fact, now she's a member of parliament. I don't know if she's still.
She is?
I think she was called Madam Rav. She's a member of parliament, I think, for workers.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, she used to be a hard one.
That's...
Anyone who went through Lubidi would know this woman. From one time she embarrassed my mother under the same scenario, like Robert said. You know how parents try to go and tell them, you see, let this guy be here. I think she made a very bitter statement, because there are a couple of parents outside. You know how they wake up very early in the morning and they sit to wait for these. In fact, these people, and what's more, these were government schools. I don't even know why they were feeling sweet on themselves. These people come to office at about 10, you know, because they know these parents come early to plead with them. So this woman walks in, because, you know, as she said, we are very many, by the way, over 200. You know, when they chase people back home, that's when parents come. So we're there like over 200. Mwana na mzad, the parent and the child, you're all in the corridor outside. Parents were seated in the grass. You know how they will try to be humble, waiting. When this woman came, I think she said, I remember she said, about something to do with poverty, something. If you can't pay, something quite painful. I remember most of the parents left that place cursing that woman. All of them. Now, when Robert says that, it brings back such memories, and probably message to all schools out there and the leaders in different schools. You people people have been through school. People, even us here were talking Tuasoma Namwe. Like, stop acting like this is the end of the world, that the buck stops with your schools or what. This is all our obligation to work together. As a country, by the way, as a country, it is useless for you to have your posh schools and no one is there studying. You're not going to teach your children and your husbands or wives and your relatives. You need to respect your clientele. There is no business that doesn't operate on debt. That one, don't be lied. When the person has 3 pieces, there's someone either like that. That's the reality. In fact, if you go into the dynamics of the word economics, economics cannot be at play when everyone is able to get what they need in life. It ceases to be economics. Economics, because it comes from the word called economia, which means lacking. They actually, let me say this, the people who lack in society, they're the ones who keep the economy running. That's a matter of fact. Not the people who have. Because it concludes the chain of economics. Imagine if everyone here was able to do whatever they want. Imagine if you woke up one day and you don't need anyone, you just need... no one would be opening up a shop. Because someone opens up a shop because probably they need to start work for something. Someone goes to the garden because, like, that's the purpose of economics. So don't...
most affordable 4G smartphone in Uganda from Airtel. Now heavily discounted from 250,000 shillings to 150,000 shillings only. Yes, 150,000 shillings only to keep you connected to your loved ones.
Dial *175*94# to activate free 1GB instantly and 100% double data on all weekly and monthly bundles for 3 months. Get one today while stock lasts from the nearest Airtel shop. With Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Okay, so this receipt, okay, plus this one equals,
Keeping up with your transaction history the old way.
1,000. Okay, I got this. I don't. Okay, maybe if I can just...
Keeping up with your transaction history with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to keep an eye on your transaction history. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
It's easy.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Seven minutes past 7 a.m. right here on Good Morning Uganda. Welcome to the newsreel. My name is Philomena Mastiko. I am with Felix Nkunda, and well, it is the 7th of February 2023. This morning's discussion, of course, do not be shocked because we are in a week where we are having our children get back to school right from over the weekend, and yesterday of course was the official day as announced by the Ministry of Education. This was last year. Now some parents were very successful at making sure that the children report for their senior one. However, according to again certain sources and according to certain researches that were done, it clearly shows that there was a low turn-up of these students, especially in most of these schools. Now, there are very many reasons that definitely are accounting to this. Some of them economic, others social, others I don't know if others are political, but we'll probably be looking. It has an influence on these other sectors. But yes, most of them were economic and social. One of them again was the hard economic times. Clearly, right now, as a parent, as a Ugandan, when we talk about economic times and how hard they are, you definitely have a picture of what we are looking into. It may not be the details, but you know, at least you have the general picture. And again, Sam, now this is what really got me, Felix, because of the new curriculum that was created for O-level, where now beginning of term examinations were scrapped off. Now you remember that back in the day, this was a big deal. And parents tried as much to make sure that their children are in time for those examinations. They would report probably a day or two late, but they would have to sit for the beginning of terms. This would probably happen like a week after, just to see how busy you have been. If you've been reading, making the revisions, you know, during your holidays. Now this, because they were scrapped off, most schools or most parents seem to have relaxed a little bit, not relaxing in a way that it is okay. But like they feel like they've been given more time to look for school fees to have these children reports. Now, isn't this going to affect us in one way or another?
Well, I may disagree with you, Philomena, that parents have relaxed.
It may not be relaxing necessarily.
It is, and this particular topic is quite painful, because as we speak about it today, I can tell you as a matter of fact that the whole of this week there is no parent who is smiling.
Absolutely none.
Everyone has their own agony. I'm imagining a parent of about 5 children. Today an average school goes for not less than 700,000 shillings, and that's probably for boarding, and for day scholars about 300 to 500. These are the most cheap and affordable schools. Now, with a parent of about 5 kids, you're looking at about 1.5 to 2 million, if not about 3 million shillings. And schools are saying zero balance. Probably you have 2 candidates in those people, or you have... And the economy is not doing us any better. So I don't think it's even about the beginning of term or relaxing of parents. And I finally, I think this whole notion of parents not being serious is something we can't even say anymore. Because tell you me, you've seen what you said earlier, the low turn up in schools. I mean, schools are reporting 30% of their students. 30% is terrible. And this was envisaged, this was seen. We have been here on set having these discussions, asking government as an institution, the custodian of this, implementing this right, just so you know, which is called education, to come in and plan. You see, when you're running administration, even us who have small families, you plan. You plan, you say what's coming, what do we do, how do we prepare, but we don't seem to have a plan about our education on some of these issues, like continuous appreciation of academics by learners. Because if today we are having less than 50% of people reporting back to school. What does that show? In the report you read, or in the stories you read, how many schools have closed? Let's be honest, Philomena. You find that out of 100 schools, at least 20 schools are no longer operational. Why? Loans. They cannot even afford operational costs to run the schools. Now, imagine where are the students of that school? Why are we not having this conversation? Parliament has not started to take this as a priority. We are hearing supplementary budgets left, right, center on different things, but we have not had any supplementary budget in relation to opening schools. But what we have heard is that ministry came out to say, do not increase school fees. I don't know how that is entirely.
Which has also been opposed by several schools. And I mean, we have seen increment in this tuition from the private schools.
And the funny thing is that most of the schools, many schools are also owned by government officials. So I don't
there
know.
Is also that to consider.
And what's more, some of them in the...
In fact, some of those, that's why you
ministry.
find ridiculous school fees.
Exactly. So you find the whole idea of education in Uganda needs a lot of panel beating. One, in the aspect of availability and accessibility. When you hear that over 100,000 students who sat PLE cannot proceed anywhere, where are they? Who is having that conversation? I'll ask that question every day. Who's talking about those kids? Where are they? What is going to happen to them? Is life done for them? Then we shall get back in the discussion of teenage parents. Because these kids, you have no plan for them. They'll look for plans. And some of the plans the villages have for some of these kids is marriage. And then that's where we end up having teenage parents. That's why you see some regions are struggling with this kind of mannerism or behavior. It's because of such kind of things. When you come to progressive academics or education, what more can we do? How do we make education a general binding factor for every child in this? We opened the space for private schools and we just left them to be operated as businesses. We have, for example, do you know that some students have not gone back to school because of requirements? Someone cannot afford those humongous requirements and then they have not gone back to. But the child is willing, he is ready, most probably waiting to just jump into school. But because they don't have a hoe, they don't have a wheelbarrow, they don't have barbed wire, they don't have cement, it's like they're going to a construction site or something. Where is our opinion? And as the legal administrators of education in Uganda, why aren't we addressing these ones? No, away from being passive, why don't we get into legal policies, standing orders against schools? If it takes, for example, the ministry to come out and give for every grade the requirements they should be taking, you come out and give us from nursery that every nursery school in Uganda should have ABCD. Every primary school in Uganda not exceeding these requirements. Every secondary school in Uganda from S1 to S4, then or even university. But whenever we just say, don't do this, how is that binding? The ministry came out most recently and said that do not increase school fees. That was, I don't know if it was an order, it was a decree.
They said it was a directive.
But how binding? What's the binding power that comes with that directive? Is it something we have had a discussion with? Because there are forums that govern these private schools and government schools. Surprisingly, also there are many government schools that are now very expensive. I gave you some of them. Some of these schools, you go to the and with due respect, to the Mengos, the Marcoses, the Lubiris, the Nabisunsas, you go there.
I mean, yesterday I was talking to an ex-commissioner from the ministry, I think the commissioner of primary education, he was once, and he was saying, we are still talking about private schools being very expensive, and we are putting government schools on the side. But there are government schools where the school fees is just...
You go to those ones I've mentioned and ask. You go. In Kampala here, you'll be surprised. And no one is talking about them. But these are also are no longer accessible and no longer available. And this all works back towards the argument we have always had about whether or not education is still a right. Because if it can't be afforded, it is not available, is it still a right? Case in point, how available is education to those 100 and plus kids who are not allowed, who failed, okay, let's say failed, as you want to say, as you want to call them. Is it still a right to them? Isn't there now a limitation? If you're having no less than 30% of turn up back to school, is that still a right? Shouldn't we be having a very valid discussion about it? But where is Parliament in all this? When the private teachers, private owners of schools came out post-COVID and they said, we need help. We need help. Banks are taking our properties. Let me tell you this. The banks have sold schools in this country since 2020. Up till today. I know of more than 5 schools which are today are shops, others are lodges, others have been turned into hotels. And these are big schools, Philomena. But who's losing? If the
children now who are reporting to, who are studying in the schools that have been sold off, what's their plan? What's the plan? I mean, where do they go from here?
Someone will say arrogantly, they'll go to the... And I've heard some leaders say that if your students can't afford these, there are many options. That's a very arrogant statement for a leader to say. Because at the end of it, all students cannot go. Government doesn't have capacity to cater for all Ugandan students. We need every player to be brought on the pitch, but to be supported. I think we need to have another discussion in how we arrange our academics in this country.
Yes.
To make value out of it, to make it most accessible and available.
In terms of when children report, I mean, we're already looking at the changes in the curriculum. I guess we can give credit for that.
Yeah, of course, the curriculum aside, you can only appreciate the curriculum when you're in school. But if you're not in school...
The other supporting factors aside from the curriculum.
Yeah, the circumstances must aid you to be in school. And this we have said and we shall sing again and again. We need to do enough. For example, let me just say this, honestly and truly, why would schools be paying money for water and electricity? If you're trying to enforce something called right to education, why would a school buy water that is centralized, but that is entirely owned by government? Why would schools pay electricity? Because at the end of the day, it's just like going to a hospital and they say the hospital management has failed to pay electricity, so people are dying. Why would hospitals pay for water and electricity? Even when you're making some of these contracts as government with these agencies like the UMEMES, you should have these clauses that there are some institutions in this country that are exempted of fees. They can pay operational costs of maybe connections, maintenance, but a hospital, what is an army barracks doing paying water and electricity?
Yes.
What is a police barracks doing paying water and electricity? What is a school doing to pay water and electricity? These are facilities that are for the general good. But then when you go to a barracks and then they say that they cut off water in a police barracks and soldiers or police people cannot bathe. You get, because the water was disconnected. A police barracks, an army barracks. What privileges do they get from serving the country? Schools, in terms of tax exemptions, they must have, they fall in that category because they're offering a service that qualifies us or qualifies our recognition of a right.
Do you
which is education.
Do you think that maybe the tax, the taxes that are imposed on these schools, it could be in relation to the, you know, maybe the fees that are, you know, charged by these schools on the parents? Because I mean, we have seen some schools charging quite ridiculous. So do you think maybe the tax body believes that this is a very good source of income, and maybe we need to actually continuously tax them without thinking about
the other? It's one thing that leads to another. When you tax them, they also transfer the burden. That's how it works.
So it becomes a continuous cycle.
The thing. If you push it on me, I just transfer it to the fellows who are bringing the kids. Where would I shoulder it? You get the point? So it's one thing to the other. But as I've said, you may not want to touch your taxes as a country, and I also may submit to that discussion. But there are things we can touch. As I've told you, when you contract with institutions like the Umemes who supply this electricity, why don't you put those clauses that this amount of electricity shall be shared among institutions like hospitals, army barracks, police barracks, and schools, and other most important installations, government installations that aid recognition and realization of what we believe in as a country. These things work. But you can't, some schools close because of debt. You go to a school and National Water has probably about over 50 million. Then Umeme has a bill of about another 100 million. Now, then the taxman also comes. Then there's local tax. Then the district. Now, then later when you come and say that don't increase tuition.
Yes.
But I was actually telling someone yesterday that if you want to know that Uganda is becoming a place where it is becoming very hard to live, previously His Excellency said that even fools can survive in this country. But it is getting hard for the fools as well now.
The fool has to be smart.
That's the thing. You have to be a foolish smart. I don't know how
they work, but you have to be a very smart foolish person.
You must be foolishly smart. Because look at the cost of food, Philo. What used to be the cheapest food? In fact, emmere esekererwa. In Uganda, we may say, abantu jibayisamu olugayo, akawunga n'ebijanjaalo. Man, how much is a kilo of posho today? How much is a kilo of beans? Talk about transportation. How much is rice today? Amatoke. In fact, if you're seen eating bananas lately, you are a hero. Because the bunch is at about 40 to 50,000. So, all things have aided some of the things you see. The kids cannot go back to school because they don't have what it takes to go back to school. What do we do now in such a situation, Phil?
The way forward.
What's the way forward when we get to a place like this?
Well, we are looking at the low turn-up of students, especially after yesterday these schools here reopened for the first term. And we need to know from you what you think about this. What could have been the cause of low turn-up on the first day? Of course, aside from the economic situations, the hardships right from school fees and all of that. But also, Felix, we're looking at COVID-19. COVID-19 is also, I want to believe, is a very big contributory factor. Aside from the economic side, we have seen children, their parents and teachers in certain schools who were asked as to why they think there were low turn-ups for their children. The whole point was some of these children most of these children have decided to drop out of school after COVID-19, after having a test of what could have happened, and they came back to school and they realized this is just not working out for them. Children actually have resorted to going to villages and starting up their own, own businesses, or, try to find a way around as opposed to getting into school. I mean, what could be the reason behind all of this? We are looking at low numbers. People are opting out of school to go and do other things.
We have faced pandemics as human nature in various manifests. It is not sometimes just about true, as a matter of fact, the effect of COVID is still very, very present with us today, and it is evident, you can all see. However, we have faced pandemics in various dimensions. It's not necessarily as COVID, or medically, but in many ways. But what is the role of us as a country? Is it to let things be as they wish? In Uganda, we have a word called kukuma akuma, like we must bring together our country. And in all sectors, it's our entire role to bring back this country. How do we win souls again? Not everything is lost. We must agree. We must win back people's souls. How do we bring back these kids to classes and tell them, no, look here, that's a short-term fix. But this is a long-term fix when you go to school. We just can't be talking about it passively. Hey, they went to the villages, so to barricade, we let it happen. It's our duty as a country, as government institutions, to bring back these kids and make them understand that that was a short fix. You get the point? Like yes, we agree, that is true, it happened. But that can't be a reason for us to let go. But that's why I said earlier, the incentives, the changes, the assistances we put in place for education to make it most available and most achievable are the ones that will lure back people. Now, someone has been off studying for 2-3 years. If the parent is not very interested, trust me, they also lose it. Someone has not been studying, maybe they are doing a business or they are doing business with them, and then education comes in and it's very expensive. A lazy parent will say, anyway, Casta, they have been earning. Let me just, but let's make education, the environment about education very conducive. There have been a couple of efforts. Of course, you see in terms of refixing the syllabus, all these other things. But I think there's more that desires to be done. And why? Is because we are realizing, yeah, right. Secondly, there is no future of any society or institution that is not based on the young generation. With due respect, 20, 30 years from now, I can guarantee you the kids you have chosen not to teach today, these kids you have neglected to have discussions about who you call failures, the ones who don't get the grades you think are important, these kids that are not turning up to school, wherever they are, it's only 1% of them who are doing the right thing. The 99% are being lured into earthly challenges. As I gave you one of the examples, we may see an increase in teenage pregnancies if we continue like this.
I mean, the increase is already there and it's not about to stop. Yes.
You'll see an increase in criminality 5-10 years from now, because people will find their ways to fend and they will be using each other's throats to find a living. You're going to see a country that has not planned for its human resource. We are building good roads, we are building industries, we are calling investors, but who is going to work in these places? It is only for us to care about education today because we are securing a future for this country. We can't talk about education passively. Secondly, what are the kids learning? This one we shall sing again and again. Now that we have realized we have a problem of continuous appreciation of education, what do we do about it? Shouldn't we also change how we teach and what we teach? That when a child drops off at a particular level or point, they can have a life. Let's imagine if these kids who can't proceed to S1, the 100 and plus kids, were able to have a life skill. Should we be even worried? Could be just saying, bagende babumbe, bagende babaje, bagende balime. But at P7, what can a P7 do? Apart from speaking broken English. Hey, I remember one of my friends we were making a joke about parent who was, a colleague of ours came and was telling us, my child is in international school. Oma, you come. I won't say the name. You come. You talk. Then the young guy was like, Mommy, where is she's the remote? And all of us were like, okay.
The English.
P7. Yes. Mommy, where she's the remote? P7. mommy where she's the remote. So we're wondering what she was saying. The remote is a, I don't know if it's gender, but that's the thing. Like, one of the ways to remedy some of these challenges, we must have purposeful education. At P7, honestly, what would you do in P7? Just tell us, Philo, when we're living, what would you do?
I honestly don't think there was something very solid that I would actually do.
They have made us think that when you leave P7, the only thing to think about is S1. And that's the pain of these other kids, Bambi. Pain! You have to be in S1. But imagine if by P7, someone can make candles, liquids. These are basics of life. Who doesn't use soap on a daily?
Looking at these skills, the vocational
life
skills.
Yes. Wouldn't be worried about these other kids who don't make it to S1. We would feel sorry for them, but would say as long as they can survive. But in P7, someone can't even bathe themselves. You go to these schools and see these kids, well, now we in echo. P7, they can't shower. A P7 child is about 12, 13 years. About, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they cannot, some of them cannot even wash their underwears if they even put them on. So we need, and now that we know the problem, what are the remedies? One, purposeful education. That at every level, 7 years in school, from 5 years, I think, five years, you must have something, you know. You must have something. At least let them know at least speak right English.
Well, getting back to public schools. Now, this is more, this lies more on the private and public schools. But looking at the public schools also, we need to understand their mode of operation and how, if they're actually, it's the mode of operation if it's favorable for the students in that. Yesterday, government released 105 billion to schools under the UPE and USE program for term 1. And I mean, at least 13,692 government primary and secondary schools received capitation grants. And I mean, when we look at UPE and USCE, the main goal as to why this was anyway introduced, I mean, they're like about 4 objectives, but I'm going to focus on one, where they say provide the facilities and resources to enable every child to enter and remain in school until the primary cycle of education is complete.
Do you know how much money goes to every head of a child? You'll be shocked.
About 20,000?
No, look at this one. 20 what?
Is that a lot?
That's too much. It's about 3,000, something like about 3,000, and that's for a term.
But that money increased. That money increased.
To what?
It's not that we 3,000 anymore.
Anyway, learning is not a general thing.
Yeah.
If you want to teach someone something, it calls for you to understand the subject that is learning. The way you teach Philomena is not the way you will teach probably Felix. And that's the dilemma of these schools. Having talked about all these things, schools, government and what, I want to just make a comment about the teachers. Have you seen our teachers lately? And mostly some of them, by far government teachers, with due respect, by the way. I'm looking at a teacher who comes to school. Some of them on an empty stomach, by the way. Some of them having failed to take their own children back to school. Some of them can't even afford to buy clothes, because one of the ethics of teachers is smartness. In fact, on a very daily normal day, which I assume every day should be normal for a teacher, you're supposed to have a necktie for men. You must be tucked in. You must be clean. Have you seen the teachers of Uganda?
The state has failed them? The state has failed them?
Let's forgive the state for this one. I think we need to question how they are trained. Today teachers even go to classes in shorts.
Is it because there are no resources to enable them achieve some of those things you've talked about?
It's about their training.
They have considerably...
No, it's a coupled challenge. It's a personal character thing, supervisional problem, and of course also facilitation problem. You see a teacher in open shoes on Monday. Who's supervising these people? And what do you think the learners are taking from you? Teachers come to classes drunk. All these things are circumstantial to the learning of kids. We are talking about government, these failures, but these things, absenteeism.
I mean, one of the most common reasons that was given for the absenteeism last year, was it last year when we saw quite a number of strikes about their money not being paid in time?
Yes, you remember
all of that.
It wasn't even, they wanted increments.
Yeah, they wanted increments.
But they absconded from school for about a month.
And then the teachers of arts.
That, all these frictions and what? Who is losing? That's a big question. Who is at loss? So, for me, I think, and I'll say this again, all these things, some could be personal, some could be supervisory, but the biggest stakeholder of education in Uganda is government. And tell you what, this one, I think people don't want to talk about it. Not everyone can be a teacher. Not everyone can be a teacher. I think going forward, we should have pre-entry exams for people who teach our children.
It shouldn't be only stuck out for
in
only
fact,
the
people
lost
think
students.
that teaching is a profession for people who have failed in life. That's why you find these millennials every time tell, I can't be a teacher. So that's a prestigious, it's a prestigious profession. But not everyone should go there. You saw last time, I think last year, a teacher who took a video of toddlers in nursery telling them, do what you've been doing, introducing them to each other sexually. I don't know if you saw that video. It was all over social media.
I saw it.
Every day you hear a teacher raping a student. We must have a kakumunta. We must save. All these things work towards what's failing academics. We can't say we are doing very well here and here. It's okay. It's not our problem. Kids are not returning back to schools because of some of these things, because they are being abused sexually by those teachers, by the heads. Teachers want to marry students when they are still students. The number of students who have been married to teachers will overwhelm you if you want to find out. But why did these relationships start?
Yeah.
Let's be honest. This is the evidence that there was something going on for the time this guy was in school. Bless God that you married her or what. So we must be very particular. These are all the reasons that people, let me tell you, if you had a teacher tormenting you at school sexually, why would you go back?
I mean, you'd be very biased. And
this happens to girls all the time. So we must have these discussions, but we must have standards in terms of education. I call upon the Minister of Education, our dear Minister, the Honorable Janet, to steer these discussions, inclusive discussions in terms of demeanor of teachers, demeanor of students at school, but also, most importantly, how do we better make accessible, available, this right of education to our kids in Uganda?
Well, there is feedback here, and one of the viewers this morning says, in my district, Koboko, teachers are on strike over no payment for the last 3 months, and that is why students are now aware of the incident, hence the low turn up. We also do have Musoke Charles from Nasana saying the major cause of school low turn ups is financial constraints. Parents are going through with exorbitantly increasing prices of commodities that low-income earners have failed to provide for their children, forcing them to either stay home or delay their return to school. We urgently need a government intervention. And finally, there is a viewer here who has quite a valid point and says some parents are extravagant during Christmas and first of the New Year celebrations, so their expenditure is beyond 80% of school fees, and so therefore they start regretting. Well, all of those definitely will make quite a lot of sense. But looking at our dailies also this morning, the Daily Nation, Form 1 pain as schools defy state. This is in Kenya. An earthquake kills over 2,300 in Turkey and Syria. in Ryla's own goal on IEBC. And proceeding into the Citizen this morning, government asked to focus on IVF research and affordability. Banks engaged in mission to renovate, build embassies. Peace security talks top ESC integration agenda. Mollen coming up next with weather and climate. Good morning.
Okay, so this receipt, okay, plus this one equals,
Keeping up with your transaction history the old way.
1,000. Okay, I got this. I don't. Okay, maybe if I can just...
Keeping up with your transaction history with the My Airtel app. You have the power in your pocket. The power to keep an eye on your transaction history. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
Easy.
Of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here, in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking, to the taste of food that takes you on a journey, in the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
The most affordable 4G smartphone in Uganda from Airtel. Now heavily discounted from 250,000 shillings to 150,000 shillings only. Yes, 150,000 shillings only to keep you connected to your loved ones.
Dial star 175 star 94 hash to activate free 1 GB instantly and 100% double data on all weekly and monthly bundles for 3 months. Get one today while stock lasts from the nearest Airtel shop. With Airtel, the smartphone network.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A toss is when something is thrown lightly in the air, like this. This. All right.
So, Jonathan, who do you think's going to win the big football game tomorrow?
Oh, I don't know. It's a toss-up, really. Orlando has a great offense, but Baltimore has a great defense. Either team could win.
Wow. You seem to actually know something about these teams.
Well, who do you think will win?
I'm just going to cheer for whoever's wearing the best colors. So, Orlando.
We use the expression toss-up to describe a situation where the result is unclear and could go either way. It refers to the actual tossing of a coin and making a decision based on that. And that's English in a Minute.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. It is, and right now I want to take you through some of the climate news. We continue to also follow up the story about the earthquake that did happen across Turkey and of course parts of Syria, where we do know so far that over 4,000 people have been confirmed dead from that earthquake. That was a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, and it was followed by the aftermath tremors, and those actually are the ones that caused a lot of destruction. A lot of homes have been destroyed, but also what is coming out is that rescue operations are still on ground ascertaining the damage from this earthquake, and this has been quite an area, a bigger area at that, and they're also looking at more of the tremors that could still be coming across the area. And of course the Turkey and Syrian border was mostly affected, where we know that they're now racing to pull survivors from beneath the rubble after a devastating earthquake like that. Now, one of the strongest earthquakes to ever hit the region in a century, that is what they are terming it, and of course that shocked residents as they were sleeping, that is on the night with it towards Monday, and that is what is still affecting the area. Now, at least 2,921 people were killed just at the start, that is as we're going into Monday. But then again, as operations continue, we look at more numbers, and that's right now adding up to over 4,300 people that have been killed. And also, they are reporting over 15,800 people that have been injured, according to Turkey's head of disaster services. And also now you look at the nearby Syria, where this tremor actually extended. They are also reporting death of at least 1,451 people, according to the Syrian state news agency. They are also reporting 711 people that have died within the area of Sana, and that is what is being looked at even right now. But we know that rescue operations are still on ground, but also the geological survey is indicating that the activity seems to have gone down. The tremors that came right after the 7.8 magnitude, one of that was 6.2, and the 5.7 magnitude tremor, but those activities seem to have gone down, according to the geological survey, and that indicates that right now it could be clearing, so it can be quite safe for survivors to go ahead and actually bring about more of the order across the area as people return to their area. And of course we do know that evacuations were done immediately after that. But also in more news, we look at a report coming in from China. They have warned for more extreme weather events in 2023, and of course one of that is looking at dried up areas, and that is in warning of a drought crisis that could hit China. Now this is also cutting across, extending all the way up to Singapore, where they have also warned people to prepare for more extremes this year after record-breaking temperatures and long drought have actually been over the area, disrupting the country's power supplies and also harvests for last summer, that is across China. Now you also have to consider the fact that China has also been dealing with a lot of extreme weather events, right from the extended drought crisis, but also they did have a lot of flooding events last year, and they're looking at more temperatures going up for this year according to the projections, which is why they are coming out to say that this could be devastating across the area. They could be looking at much more of those, especially when it comes to a drought crisis, and this is again related to the rising temperatures, but also they did have episodes of heat waves across the area. Now we're talking about the country that is top when it comes to emitting emissions, when it comes to greenhouse gases. Now it also goes a long way to indicate that they should be the ones going at the forefront of fighting or leading the fight against climate change, because we know that all these rising temperatures have been attributed to the changing climate, and of course with the variabilities, that's where you now arrive at more extreme weather events. So yes, this might prompt action from China. We know that they have oftentimes not done many commitments when it comes to most of the summits that the UN has organized, especially the Framework Convention on Climate Change. We did see a lot of countries take to Egypt to discuss their commitments, but China has not come through really with more of the actionable commitments with regard to the climate emergency. So most of these projections that are coming up across the country could actually force the leadership into looking at more plans or rectifying a few issues that were raised even right from the Paris Agreement. That is something that they could be looking at, and could be a brighter side to having some of these projections on their end. But also we do know that there are talks between NATO and Kuwait to talk partnership when it comes to climate change. Now they did hold talks, that is yesterday, about how they can look at partnership with climate change and security. Now climate change is one of the defining challenges of our time, and NATO has been actively engaging experts, the civil society and other groups to discuss the nexus between climate change and security, and this is where we are putting much more of the emphasis. They did meet earlier, actually in January, that was on the 30th of January in Istanbul. That is when it came to the cooperative initiative, the regional center in Kuwait as well, that has hosted the first ever discussion with allied and partner experts on emerging climate challenges and how to address them. So those are the meetings that have been going on, but we know that most of the focus from NATO has been on security. Now what Kuwait is doing right now is engaging on them on how they can use a similar effort into tackling climate change. You can imagine the amount of power that comes with NATO. We just saw recently about the Russia-Ukraine war. They were very much involved and pulling strings from every country. Now Kuwait and the meetings happening are now to engage NATO to say the same effort that you're putting across when it comes to security, if you were to channel it towards climate change and make sure that we don't have this crisis, that could go a long way into fostering action across the entire world, not just Europe, not just the US, but it could go a long way, and that's what is coming through. But also we do know that they have also laid up focused discussions on emerging challenges, especially in the Gulf region, and the consequences that involve water scarcity among the region. That is Kuwait being a dry country. Of course, they're also concerned about the water scarcity and how they are going to make sure that they have opportunities coming from developed countries already towards sustainable development. So those are the talks already on the table as we speak, to ensure that at least we have regional centers that also bring in logistics, transportation, food, in case there are disasters, looking at how we can address adaptation, how people will be coping with the changing climate. That is also in the talks right now. But they also go back on the Istanbul Cooperation Initiative that was established way back in 2004. And ever since then, they have not had talks regards to climate change. So this is why this is really important, an important discussion, marking a strategic concept when it comes to most of these big initiatives, also big organizations dealing with the climate emergency. And we do hope that by the end of these talks, we're able to get an understanding and adapting to impact of climate change, and also look at how we bring in security at the same time protecting citizens and the entire population against the climate emergency. Now, away from that, we also want to take a look at what is happening over the country. We'll be tapping in from our satellites, looking at what Uganda has in store for us today. We do have mostly cloudy weather that is emerging from the islands of Lake Victoria. Also looking at more of the clouds developing for the southwestern part of the country, and that could later on bring in a little bit of rains, but that is over a few areas, especially across Kabale Highlands. We're looking at more of the system starting to develop across the eastern side of Lake Victoria, and that is where we're looking at also a likelihood of rainy conditions. Otherwise, we're dealing with yet another sunny morning across much of Uganda, all the way through northern Uganda, the northwestern. We're looking at midwestern Uganda, where we have Masindi, Hoima as well, starting off quite sunny, where we see those open darker colors. That's where we are saying there are sunny conditions. Now you also look at the eastern side, Sorority Amuria, that has been quite sunny for the last couple of days. It looks like today is a repeat of what happened yesterday as well. We're looking at more of the clouds starting to continue up to the western part of Lake Victoria Basin. We could be looking at more rains over there. But we'll go ahead and take a look at the forecast that is coming in from Uganda National Meteorological Authority. We'll be looking at the numbers also in terms of temperatures, what we can expect for today. We're starting off with the western part of Lake Victoria Basin, Masaka, Kalisizo, Zimbabwe and Rakai. We are forecasting isolated showers. Those will be starting off with a chilly 25 degrees centigrade. Now across southwestern Uganda, where we have Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi and Rubirizi, we're talking about rainy conditions as well. Those will be coming in later as we head into the afternoon. We're looking at the 27, quite a warm one for you across that area. Now Mount Elgon Highlands, we have Mbale, Bududa, Buko and Sironko. We'll likely to start off mostly sunny with intervals of cloudy conditions. Also a warm morning at 28 degrees. Now the eastern parts of Lake Victoria Basin, Tororo, Busia, Iganga and Jinja, we're forecasting rains. Those will be coming in also later as we head into the afternoon, starting off with a chilly 25. And across eastern Uganda, Sorority, Katakwi, Amuria, Kumi, another sunny morning for you. Also it is starting off hot at 29 degrees centigrade. We do have central northern Uganda, Adjumani, Kitgum, Padel. We are forecasting mostly a sunny morning for you. We'll be having intervals of cloudy conditions later as we head into the afternoon. Starting off quite hot, temperatures will be at 30 degrees Celsius. We're looking at the eastern part of central, Ruwero, Woblenzi, Burudi and Nakaseke. We are forecasting a mix of clouds and sunshine. Also quite a hot one for you at 30 degrees Celsius. We do expect that will continue into the afternoon, as we do expect more sunny conditions developing over that area. The central part of Lake Victoria Basin, Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe and Wakiso, we're forecasting light rains. Those will be coming in also as the morning progresses. Quite a chilly morning at 25 degrees. We do expect that we'll have more rains crossing over the central Lake Victoria Basin into the afternoon. That's when we'll also be looking at quite low temperatures, at least not going beyond the upper 20s. We could also be looking at more rains developing for the southern sector for this time of the year. It's actually quite normal for such areas, but we continue to see dry and sunny weather for northern Uganda, eastern Uganda and parts of central. Well, that is it for the weather updates. Right now we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda that will be coming up right after this. My name is Mollen, Kenyena, wishing you a wonderful day.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here, in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking, to the taste of food that takes you on a journey, in the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A toss is when something is thrown lightly in the air, like this. This. All right.
So, Jonathan, who do you think is going to win the big football game tomorrow?
I don't know. It's a toss-up, really. Orlando has a great offense, but Baltimore has a great defense. Either team could win.
Wow, you seem to actually know something about these teams.
Well, who do you think will win?
I'm just going to cheer for whoever's wearing the best colors. So, Orlando.
We use the expression toss-up to describe a situation where the result is unclear and could go either way. It refers to the actual tossing of a coin and making a decision based on that. And that's English in a minute.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to the GMU agenda this morning, 3 minutes past 8 a.m. Good morning, Uganda, and thank you for being with us all the way. If you did start off this early morning with us, well, if you have just joined us, it's not too late. You are in at the right time. My name is Philomena Mastiko, and this morning I do have an important guest that I should be introducing in a couple of minutes. We'll be talking about something that's very key, that is very important for any Ugandan to know. And when I talk about very important, we need to give it maximum attention that it deserves when it comes to human rights, and specifically for our country here in Uganda.